Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Baxter Student Ambassador Program webinar of the 2022 season. My name is Dan McDonald, Sales and Marketing Development Associate with Baxter Media, and I'm here with Bailey Begin, one of our student finalists from Conestoga College. Now, just before we get into things, I'd like to give an enthusiastic shout out to our program sponsors this year. We have Manulife, Propel, powered by Tourism HR Canada, ACTA, the Association of Canadian Travel Agencies, TIO, the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario, and SCAL Canada. Thank you for helping to make BSAP a continued success. I'd also like to let everyone know that at the end of this webinar, you'll have the chance to submit a question or two to our finalists. To do so, please type it into the Q&A section of the public chat box, which should be towards the right-hand side of the screen, and those questions will be answered in due time. And remember, this is a live session, so your patience is appreciated during any technical difficulties that might arise. And without further ado, I'll now hand things over to Bailey. Welcome, Bailey. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. I know Cora had mentioned in the chat here that she couldn't hear anyone, so I don't know if you'd like me to just wait until she disconnects and reconnects before I start. I don't know if anyone else can hear me.
Yeah, your sound is coming through well, so it's just an issue with the volume on her system. Because yeah,
Okay.
your sound broadcast is working perfectly.
Okay. What would you prefer? Do you want me to wait a couple moments, or do you want me to begin?
If she's still having issues, I'll just send her the recording afterwards. So Bailey, I think you can go ahead and begin.
Okay, perfect. All right, and everybody can see my screen. I just want to double check that everything's all good.
Definitely, yeah, looks great.
Okay. Perfect. All right, so I'll begin then. Hello, everyone. My name is Bailey Begin, and I'm in my last year of the Travel and Destination Management program at Conestoga College, like mentioned. So today I'm going to be taking you on a top of the world tour located in Nunovut, Canada, right in our own backyard. So, not long ago, Nunavut became part of Canada back in 1999, with Iqaluit being the capital. The entire population consists of around 48,000 people, with around 8,000 of them residing just in Iqaluit itself. And as we all know, there's three main Indigenous groups within Canada. So we have First Nations, there's Métis, and Inuit. So Nunavut is home to Inuit, and their native tongue is Inuktitut. So if we can take a look at the name of the territory, Nunavut here, it actually means our land in Inuktitut. And when we're referring to Inuit people, we're talking about three or more people. But if I were to talk about one of my friends, I would say they are an Inuk person. I actually have personal experience with Nunavut as I got the opportunity to live and work up in Iqaluit this past summer at Axarnit Hotel and Conference Center. And just a fun fact, Axarnit actually means Northern Lights in Inuktitut. So I was able to immerse myself in their community, their culture, and their land. And it's really important for me as an ally to Indigenous peoples of Canada to promote and provide more insight to their incredible culture and resilience. For example, many years ago, I actually was butchering the names of both the territory and the capital. So I was saying Iqaluit for Iqaluit. So Iqaluit actually has a nice little French flair to it. And then Nunavut is, I used to pronounce it Nunovut, and a lot of people still do. So it's almost like when you meet somebody and you don't really understand their name, it might be a little bit different than what you're used to. So I think it's really important to, if you are going to be promoting someplace, to be pronouncing it correctly. And many of us don't know much about Nunavut, other than the cold, bitter weather, the sparse land, and bits and pieces of the Indigenous community. So Nunavut has a vast amount of landscapes, such as islands, especially Baffin Island, where Iqaluit, the capital, is located, and then lots of mountainous regions, beautiful fjords. You got large icebergs and glaciers, and tons of untouched land. And being so far north, the Arctic Circle provides a Northern Lights experience that is like no other place. Nunavut is home to 26 communities around the territory, and their culture is filled with beauty from their art, their beadwork, jewelry, ivory carving, seal skin, and Arctic fox fur clothing to their traditional igloo making and throat singing. And I actually just wanted to show you here. So I got these mittens up north. I don't know if you can see correctly just because I can't see myself, but beautiful emerald green for the seal, and then this Arctic fox fur. If we were in person, I'd pass these around, but it's so soft to the touch. It's great. And we can see here on my influencer slide that Indigenous peoples are starting to make a name for themselves in the media. So up at the top here, if you can see my mouse, we have the Snow Walker movie. So I'm not sure if anyone's watched it. If you haven't, go check it out. It's a great movie, and it takes part in places of Nunavut as well as Churchill, Manitoba. So the movie is kind of similar to the childhood favorite Disney movie Pocahontas, but this is interpreted in a more realistic approach to Inuit society. And then I do have a picture here. That's me and my friend Johnny, and he actually played a small role as a local Inuk man. And he also carved this necklace for me. So I'll just kind of go up close if you can see it here. So it's kind of made into two pieces here. I absolutely love it. So he hand carved this. Half of it is from it's ivory from walrus tusk, and then the other half is seal claw down here. And then below the picture of me and Johnny and Snow Walker, we have the famous band, the Jerry Cans. So if you don't know them, definitely check them out. They incorporate traditional throat singing into their music, kind of pop rock music. And they were just on tour last summer in Yellowknife. And then over at the top here, we have Sheena Novalinga and Michelle Chubb. So Sheena is Inuk, and she's just right here. And then we have Michelle Chubb here, who is of Cree background. And this is an ad campaign from Sephora Canada that highlighted Indigenous women as part of their promotion for Indigenous History Month last year. And it was actually the first time that Sephora Canada had an ad campaign that had all Indigenous peoples in it, from the directing to the makeup artist to, of course, our two main influencers here. And then lastly, here is Sheila Flaherty. I actually had the opportunity to meet her when I was up in Iqaluit last summer. And she is a local female Inuk chef, and she's based out of Iqaluit. And she's actually featured in Air Canada's En Route magazine. And it was published for her issue. It was published in the January and February issue. And she's also released her first cookbook, which is Nerjuti Amani, which means cooking with fish and seal. And it's a cookbook that highlights Inuit cooking and edible animals of the sea. And speaking of food, the culinary scene is a big part of Inuit culture, like all cultures around the world. Inuit are known for their concept of earth to table cooking, sustainable practices, and making sure to use every part of the animal, both for cooking and for creating clothing and jewelry. And the way that I kind of explain country food, it's like an indigenous form of sushi. So we can kind of see here, I mean, some people might not think that it looks too appealing, but it's actually beautiful and it's wonderful. It's beluga meat that is caught fresh and it's eaten raw. And then along with the types of charcuterie boards here, that include several types of fresh protein on the board. And they use this traditional tool for prepping and cutting their food. So there's actually, it's right down here. I have a little cartoon picture of it here. It's called an ulu. So there's a female and a male version of it. The one that I have on the slide here is the male version. The female version is actually a bit wider and longer at the curve and the tips of the tool. And on the more modern side of things, while I was in Iqaluit, I was surprised to find that this cute little cafe. So it's Blackheart Cafe. I have the little logo down there, and they offer rotating sandwiches, breakfast, protein bowls, coffee, tea, pastries, a bunch of stuff. And many of our government officials have actually gone up there and gone to the coffee shop. So I have pictured here Jagmeet Singh, and then Justin Trudeau has also been to the coffee shop as well. And then I was also surprised to see that Iqaluit had their first ever brewery called New Brew, just pictured up here. And they're always making new rotating drafts for locals to try while naming all of the beers with traditional names. So we have Frobe Gold, which is one of their blonde ales, Apaktu, which is a red ale, and then they also have their most popular, the Flow Edge, which is just a lager. And like mentioned before, many of the activities associated with Inuit culture are the ivory carving, the jewelry, the clothing, beadwork, storytelling by elders, and their art, of course. But there's also tons of activities, especially winter sports, of course, because it's so cold up there. And there's lots of adventure and recreation possibilities. So there's snowmobiling, quadding, you have ice fishing, snowshoeing, and dog sledding. There's pond hockey, lots of fishing, hunting, and outfitting experiences. And then there's also archery, mountain biking, and lots of hiking to do. And then moving on, they also have a ton of festivals and events going on throughout the year. So, what just happened back in January is the Return of the Sun Festival. So, that happens in the middle of January, and many Inuit consider this celebration more important than New Year's. It's the celebration of the return of light, the return of sun, because they have several weeks of darkness. And so, again, this festival lasts 5 days, and it includes traditional igloo building, dog sledding and racing, along with talent and fashion shows throughout the days. Another popular festival is their Tunic Time Festival. It's another week-long festival. It happens in April, and it's similar to the Return of the Sun. So lots of the same activities like the dog sledding, snowmobiling, igloo building, but they also have drum dancing, and our artist craft fair, traditional dress competitions, as well as sport hunting competitions, and then seal skinning workshops and educating on how to use the entire animal without waste. I did picture the donuts up there, and if you can kind of see where it says Tunic, I thought it was cute. So the Tim Hortons that's up in Iqaluit, when it comes time for this festival, they actually come out with their own Tunic donut. I haven't tried it myself, so I don't know what the flavors are, but I'm sure it is good. And then other festivals and events are held in June for National Indigenous History Month, along with National Indigenous Peoples Day, which happens on June 21st. And then the last festival, well, I guess kind of event that I want to mention is the berry picking day. So this happens in August and September, and it's on different days around Nunavut, depending on the community and depending on the berry season. And so it's kind of similar to Ontario, how we have Family Day. So the town will take off work for the day and they're going to spend time with their families and their friends. They're going to be collecting berries, and they make various jams, pies, and other goods for the winter season. So after seeing what Nunavut has to offer, it's actually unfortunate because there's only two direct flights from the south, departing from Montreal Dorval and then Ottawa International Airport. Canadian North is actually the only airline that flies direct from the south to Nunavut territory. These flights are approximately 3.5 to 4 hours long and can range anywhere from $350 to $800, depending on the time of year. And not only are there limited air transportation available for consumers, but there's only 5 main tour operators servicing tour packages in Nunavut. This makes it extremely difficult for travel agents to promote Nunavut as a popular travel destination for both international and domestic travelers. So I've just taken a tour here from Great Canadian Trails. So it's a 5-day guided tour through a couple of the main communities in Nunavut. And this package is actually one of the cheaper options that I found, but it's still close to $5,000 with the taxes. The tour includes 3 breakfast, 3 lunch, 3 dinner, and then 4-night accommodation. However, it does not include your airfare or additional meals or insurance. Travel insurance is recommended before visiting, and it must include a search and rescue coverage because of the remote areas the tour would be visiting. The commission on these packages can range from $600 and up for travel agents if they're taking a typical 12% commission off of the travel packages. And in my opinion, these tour packages are just the cusp of what Nunavut has to offer. So I've actually taken the time to make my own little tour sample on what travel agents could offer to their clients, especially with the travel markets changing and millennials wanting a more niche, authentic, and off the beaten path experience. So, just taking a look at some of the Ontario market segments here. So, Nunavut would hit the up and coming explorers and many other markets, especially for domestic travel to Nunavut. If we look at the map here, I've just put some location pins on some of the most appealing spots within the territory. Let me show you in more detail what the destination has to offer. So visitors would most likely be going up to Iqaluit and staying there for a few days before venturing off anywhere else to any of the other communities. So Iqaluit is a great community atmosphere. There's many food and beverage spots, and of course, gorgeous landscapes. Iqaluit is also home to Sylvia Grinnell Territorial Park, and it's a great place to go hunting, fishing, or just grabbing a bottle of wine and going up on top of one of the rock formations that overlooks Frobisher Bay. Visitors are also able to walk down to a little community called Apex, which is home to the original Hudson's Bay Company trading post. So, on this slide, I've actually incorporated some of my own personal pictures that I've taken. So, I mean, we look down here at the wing of the flight, and I mean, I couldn't believe, I mean, I've traveled a lot, I've been to a lot of countries, I feel extremely blessed about that. But the opportunity to go up there and just see all the ice kind of breaking, it was just mesmerizing. I loved it. And then up here is my own personal picture of the town of Iqaluit, just at the top, kind of near my house that I lived in. It just, you could kind of oversee the whole town. It was beautiful. And then Sylvia Grinnell, beautiful over here. We have Arctic char kind of cut up here and dried. This is actually me walking down over to Frobisher Bay, and the fish beside it is an Arctic char, my first ever Arctic char that I caught. And then again, for Apex, that's my own personal picture too. I couldn't believe that I had the opportunity to see, a historical landmark. And then after Iqaluit and Apex area, visitors would then be able to travel to some of the national and territorial parks of Nunavut, like Cumberland Sound, a gorgeous part of Nunavut that allows visitors to actually kayak through icebergs throughout the Arctic Ocean. Along with that, they have Ayatuk, which is one of the most known national parks in Nunavut for its ice fishing spots and great Northern Lights displays. And then moving along Baffin Island, visitors must go to Pengnirtung, or Pang for short. This area of Nunavut is one of their hidden gems. I need to go back personally. I want to go back to see it. It's absolutely gorgeous, the pictures that I've seen. There's lots of gorgeous mountains, hiking trails, fjords, and that's given the Rocky Mountains a run for their money. Visitors then could venture up to the top of Baffin Island, up to Pond Inlet, and that's another stunning community that offers whale watching, dog sledding tours, and tons of untouched land. Again, I just want to point out this is my own personal picture here of the Northern Lights. The Northern Lights typically come out between October and March, and I had gone up there March to end of August. I had to leave to go back for school, but they came out for me a couple of days right before I left, so I felt really blessed about that. And then after visitors are finished exploring Baffin Island, there's plenty of islands in the Arctic Circle to go to visit, such as Arctic Bay, Grise Fjord, and Resolute Bay. These areas of Nunavut offer breathtaking views, again, lots of outdoor activities, and these areas have the opportunity to see polar bears in their natural habitat. I didn't get to see them in Iqaluit. I don't know how I would react to it, but yeah, I think it would be pretty cool to go up and especially being on a guided tour and maybe with the locals as well, and being able to see them just where they are. So I was fortunate enough myself to have the opportunity to visit Iqaluit. And like I mentioned before, I plan on going back to see the rest of the territory. And I believe, oh, sorry. I believe it's important. Sorry, I just lost my my slide here. Sorry. I believe it's important to have these types of authentic experiences in order to build relationships with the community, educate ourselves on the Indigenous communities within Canada, and create fun and long lasting memories. So, as I mentioned, and as you can see, there's lots of benefits for travel agents to promote this destination, especially with the emerging Indigenous and sustainable tourism products and services being offered right now. So, if we also take a look at the map here, we can see that Baffin Island is extremely close to Greenland, and you got Nuuk, their capital of Greenland, around right here. And then just on the other side, we have Iceland. So, this northwestern passage would allow tour operators and travel agents to promote this destination and hopefully create a market and a demand for northern travel. So, if you think about it, the flight from Iqaluit to Nuuk, Greenland, is only an hour and 30 minutes. That means that flying from Ottawa to Iqaluit is twice as long, and that's just a domestic flight. Our country is huge, and it offers so much potential and opportunity for the tourism industry. Another cool fact that I want to mention is that Canadian North is now offering direct and round trip flights to and from Toronto Pearson to Iqaluit starting June 3rd. These flights are going to be offered on Fridays and Sundays, and it's going to hopefully bring in more tourism for both of the areas. So, tell me what you think about this Arctic kingdom located in our own backyard. And I'd also love to answer any questions that you may have about this beautiful destination. Nakumi, thank you.
Thanks so much, Bailey. So if anyone does have any questions at all, feel free to submit them to either the chat box or the Q&A box, which is both towards the right-hand side of the screen. And that goes for everyone in attendance today. Feel free to submit a question or two. And Bailey, what motivated you to choose Nunavut as your destination?
Well, I mean, like I mentioned, I had the opportunity, last summer I was deciding on I had two job opportunities. My little trick of the trade, especially while I'm in school, is going on Indeed, searching up staff accommodation and Canada, so that I can, live and work around the country and kind of get a feel for it, be traveling while making money and just seeing a different part. So I was between working at a winery in Kelowna, which I haven't been to Kelowna, but I have been out to BC, and then there was the one for Iqaluit Nunavut. And I just thought, you know what? I am so niche. I'm so off the beaten path myself for exploring and for traveling. So I decided to try it out. And honestly, the best experience I ever had. I educated myself. I got amongst the community. The landscapes were amazing. And another kind of fun fact too is they have no trees up there. There's no trees at all. And so that was kind of interesting to go into a different type of landscape and be able to experience the Arctic and, to see it for what it is and be amongst the locals. And I just loved it. If I wasn't going back to school, I probably still would have been there.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Bailey.
Yeah, no worries.
And a question submitted here is, what would you consider to be your dream job?
Oh, dream job. Well, I mean, I'm kind of still figuring that out. I mean, the dream job I would say would be working for the UNWTO, working in an indigenous sector. I think it's really important, especially since I went up there and had that experience. It's important for me as an ally to Indigenous peoples of Canada to promote and to try and build that reconciliation. So that would be dream job. But right now, I'm kind of looking more towards maybe Canadian North or Air North, Air Canada, some sort of airline, just to dip my toes into the industry.
Sounds great. Good answer. And Carol Greenwood from Tayo says, I don't have any questions. This was an excellent but very thorough presentation. I love how you took the initiative to share your own travel itineraries. The passion that you have for this, the respect you have for inclusivity, and the respect for the culture is very refreshing.
Oh, thanks so much, Carol. I really appreciate that. I'm glad that that came across in the presentation. That was really what I was going for.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that, Carol. And I do believe that's it for the questions. So I'd like to thank everyone that attended today. Thank you all so much for being here for one of our very first BSAP finalist presentations of 2022. And Bailey, thank you so much for presenting for us.
Oh, thanks so much, Dan. Really appreciate it. A little bit nerve-wracking being the first one to do it, but I'm glad that it's done and I'm happy to be here.
Of course, yeah. Well, congratulations again on being named a finalist, and we will be in touch again over the next couple of weeks.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.